I think there might be signs of an economic trouble ahead. And it actually has to do with the spike in refi demands. I don't know if you saw this, folks, but just reported today, Mortgage Business Daily, refi demand up 7% week on week. And more importantly, 21% year on year. Folks, is this a sign that the consumer is getting scared? Is this a sign that the consumer is desperate, that they're going back to their home equity and using it as an ATM? Thought we should have this conversation with Matt, the mortgage guy. Matt, don't know if you saw the data, but yeah, refi demand is spiking.
Right. Yeah. Mini refinance boom is upon us. And, I don't think that, anybody should buy into the hype that just like the second liens, right? Like that's going to cause this humongous boom in the economy. 90% of the comments I've got given information on the, Fannie Mae second that's coming out are like, more debt. This is terrible. Trillions and trillions being injected in the economy. Inflation. This is bad for everybody. I mean, the same thing goes for refinance. It makes up 34% of the applications right now. So like 1 in 3 applications are refinance. I think a lot of them are stuff that was written at 7.5, 7.75. And now if they can get a 6.5, a 6.75, it just makes sense. Like I do break-even analysis on refinance all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My, call to action for anybody who thinks they might be in a position, find someone you like and trust, find someone who's going to give you honest advice, run that calculation, because in 19, 20, 21, those years, there was a lot of people that had a 5.5% and they refinanced it to 4 1/8. And it made sense. Like they were going to break even. They're going to save $300 a month. It cost them $2,700 or $3,300. So it was 9 or 11 month break even. They did that and they looked up 12 months later and go, oh my gosh, I can get a 2.875. Should I do it again? And I told them, yes, you should do it again. And so on the way down, if we go 7.75, 6.75, 5.5, and somebody refinances at both those points, it's going to make sense both times. And so that's the call to action is take a look at the numbers, talk to somebody you like and trust. My warning is don't let somebody talk you in circles to try to do a deal that doesn't make sense.
Right.
This is a quick shout, Mike, to what we're going to do in school, where I'm going to be live for an hour answering these type of questions. Hey, Matt, does this make sense? I'm going to save $183 a month. And we dig in and we go, if it's costing you $8,500, no, don't do that. The break even is too long. But in a case where I'm saving $314 a month and the total baked in cost between title fees and lender fees, because I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, there's no charitable organizations that write mortgages or do title work. Those things are not free, despite what you might be sold. Those things cost, but if they cost one figure and you could divide how much you save, and that's a 9-month break even or 13-month break even, it probably makes sense to refi.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because, again, we had a conversation earlier in the week about this second mortgage program unlocking trillions of dollars of more debt and spending. This refi boom, mini boom, is interesting because we got to remember there was a time, not too distant past, where people were getting 8% mortgage rates. And to your point, it might make perfect sense to do a rate and term refi to get a lower payment if the payback period's right. Because I think a lot of people talk about refis and they only think about the cash out refis. Just rough and tough. What do you think the estimate is, a true cash out refi versus just rate and term? Is it like 60-40, 50-50? Any wild guess?
My wild guess is that there's still more cash out than there is rate and term.
Okay.
Because cash out's more necessity based for a lot of people, where it's like, I've got to do something. I need this cash.
Right.
And there's plenty of people where the cash out is not rate sensitive, where I need the cash. I've got to pay off debt. I need the cash. I'm paying for kids' college. Whatever the reason is, like that's less rate sensitive than, hey, there's certain amount of people that, fall in this bucket because where rates are at, now it unlocks that rate and term.
Yeah.
So it's probably 2/3 cash out or maybe even more.
Yeah,
But
let's
to your
call it
point,
80-20. Let's call
yeah,
it 4 out of 5. And the reason this is important is the 20% was non-existent for
right,
2 years because we were just going up. So we didn't have that rate and term refi, right? Nobody's going to do a rate and term refi from a 4 to a 7. That makes no logical sense. But now as rates rolled over, and now for some under 7, we are seeing the rate and term come back. Because if you have an eighth and an eighth, then you can get a 6.5. It probably makes financial sense for a lot of people. What makes me nervous is these call centers that are out there talking people in circles and saying, hey, let's pay off your 22% credit card debt um, with getting you a cash out refi. I think there's a lot of consumers, and I don't know what a lot means. 25%, 15%, what double digits that are getting taken advantage of. And that's why I like what you're going to do in school, and really what you like that you do for this community is you'll look at opportunities and say, does this make sense? Because you don't have to do a full new mortgage. You can get a second. You can get equity lines. You could get a second even before Freddie Mac came in and said, hey, we're going to give you a lower price second. They were out there. This is what concerns me when I saw refi spike. What was it? 21% year on year. I'm like, some of that is rate and term, but others are cash out, and that makes me nervous.
right, yeah, and to your point, if we go from a near zero number of rate and term, just because rate and term is rate dependent, and rates come down, and now we've got a certain percent of rate and term, that might be the whole increase.
It could be.
Cash outs could be flat, right? And so it's only concerning if you're taking advice from people who are only out there to close the next deal. And
Right.
and my warning to people is there are those people out there.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
working in call centers, they're working for mortgage companies that is, the call to action every single day. They're in a boiler room and saying, go out there and sell. And unfortunately, the more I look at the data, because the data is relatively public and you can dig it up, they're targeting people who can less afford.
Least afford it. Yeah.
Yeah, 630 credit score, and their whole net worth is all tied up in their home. That's the only net worth they have. They don't have any other asset. And so to strip that equity from them, charge them $17,000 to pull 15,000 worth of equity out and put them in a new payment that's $1,400 more per month, like that makes me sick. And
That makes
so
me sick. Yeah.
all you can do is provide as much good info to as many people as possible and hope that people, the good news, Mike, is I talk to a lot of people that are relatively educated.
Mm.
Vast majority of people who are listening to this, you're doing the work, you're getting the information, and you can't be sold.
Mm.
But unfortunately, those call centers are going to find you if you're, not as financially literate.
Right.
And, you might be in a vulnerable position where you need some help and it feels like a lifeline. Just don't do it at the expense of your future finances, because
Yeah.
you're going to regret it.
Yeah. There's another thing I want to bring up here is operators or agents and brokers can get desperate. I was just speaking with Adrian Hernandez, who told a story of a real estate agent who acted badly, which I'll give you the story, but this could be a mortgage broker. So Adrian and his team had a house in contract to purchase. They were waiting for the seller to sign. The seller ghosted them. Ultimately, what they find out later is some agent went behind their back and got it done. Um, so now, they're fighting it out in title and all these other things. But that agent very likely is going to lose their license because they got in front of a transaction that was already in escrow and ready to close. There's going to be bad mortgage brokers who are starving for that next commission to pay their car payment, to pay their rent. And this is what really scares me about this time is those actors, to your point, talking people in circles and confusing them with numbers. Be careful, folks. Get second opinions from resources who may not even be paid on the transaction. Get second opinions. What do you think?
Oh, 1000%. And that's the thing too, desperate, times call for desperate measures. You've got that story. It wasn't that long ago. I heard this story break. Somebody on the East Coast, and I just pulled it up on Housing Wire because I remember the article. It's only, April 24th, 2024. One of the biggest loan originators in New Jersey went down. And the sad part is this was a high level, great mortgage loan originator making a great living and got accustomed to that great living and didn't want that to scale back. And so I think this one was like a occupancy fraud issue where, in some small circles or in, the dark underlayer, he was known as like, hey, you want to buy an investment property and just say it's a primary so you get a lower rate and maybe
Come
get in
see
with
me.
less cash.
Yeah.
Like get a hold of this guy. He's going down. And like, I
Yeah.
remember seeing
I
this
read that
story and thinking to
article.
myself,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
high level mortgage people running in the same circles. This dude's got a family, and who knows, who knows went into those first bad decisions, but over time got themselves. And, as a consumer, you got to protect yourself too. I've seen people, Mike, blacklisted. Like, you no longer have the ability to get mortgage financing from Fannie and Freddie because you've got this on your record that says you tried to buy a fourplex, say it was owner occupied. It didn't make any sense to the lender. They dug, you didn't move in. And so just do things on the up and up, get good
Yeah.
advice. Know that,
The
as
good news
things are.
about this, the good news for me is this is all the last mile of pain. All these shenanigans, all these people finally getting caught, all these bad actors. This is like the very end of the cycle that all gets washed out. And then finally we get to the let's grow, let's do good work, let's find great deals. So we're almost through the crap, but there's going to be some pretty embarrassing and stupid things that get uncovered here in the next 6 to 9 months. But I look forward to getting to the other side.
Yeah, for sure. And this relates to a conversation I just had with a loan officer who he saw something that I posted online and he said, Matt, I want to call you because exactly what you said in that video about
Hmm.
realtor and lender working together. Oh man, it's so frustrating. They missed out on a deal because they weren't working together.
Yeah,
And so the good news, like you said, is when we come on the other side, some of the less experienced, some of the less qualified agents, loan officers, title agents, everybody really, there's a little bit of a cleansing of the industry. The best
exactly.
survive. And so, come 2025, you're out there as a consumer, you're
Yeah,
working with the best professionals because only the best survived.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's that. I do think it's that close. I think it's 2025. We're through the last cleanse out of the bad actors, right? I don't know what's happened in mortgage, but I read a report that there's like already 30% less real estate agents. I'm going to guess there's 50% less mortgage brokers. We get to 2025, we have refi demand, rate and term, cash out. We got seconds going again. It won't, you're not going to go back to, 21. Let's not say that, but it won't be 2023 either. 2023 was horrible.
Oh, for sure. What's interesting too is last week, Barry Habib spoke and gave a great presentation. Shout out to Barry. He's going through some health issues and so we're thinking about him, especially this week when he's got some treatment going on. But he talked about different things you can do in your mortgage business to survive, because on the other side, there's going to be
Oh yeah.
transactions, there's going to be opportunity. And so those of us that understand, not all times there's going to be, money falling from the sky like 20 and 21. You got to get lean. You've got to
Yeah.
have hedges in place for your business. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Barry's in agreement. 2025 is the other side where opportunity continues to increase.
I
And
like
I
it.
think it's the same for the consumer too,
Oh, I
because
agree. Yeah.
rates start to
This is
come
the
down.
end. Again, this is the cleansing period. This are where the bad actors go to jail. This is where the bad operators lose all their money. This is where the folks that thought it was easy go and become baristas. This is that part. And then 2025, we're back to just do the work, good operators. and I frankly can't wait. So I'm encouraged. Where can people find you to get a second opinion? See what's what.
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out that form. Me and my team are in 48 states. Greatmortgagebroker.com. And coming soon, Mike, I'm going to have something embedded in my website where people can just upload a loan estimate,
Oh,
their
nice.
latest mortgage statement, whatever it is, to get answers. Because just like I did in 20 and 21, I reviewed a ton. And there's so much opportunity, and I know it, that I can just give good advice. Some of the deals make sense, and I'll write those. The ones that don't, I'll sleep really good at night knowing that I gave people good advice. And so I'm going to create a mechanism to be able to review as many as possible. Say, you know what? Break even analysis says this might be a 4.5 year break even. I'd stay put, especially if you aren't certain you're going to be here in 5 years. And so look out for that. We'll announce that in the future. And on School, inside of the One Rental at a Time School community, sometime in the next week, I'll give you some dates for next week. We'll do it
Cool.
the last week of May, and we'll get in there and answer any questions that anybody has on any current deal, future deal, and hopefully I'll give some good advice, save some people thousands of dollars.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.